my dear little champions, I welcome you all to 99% in 99 Days series. Today is day 5 and today it's biology time. So all biology fans assemble over here, and the chapter that we are going to begin with is none other than life processes, and the topic that we are going to start with is nutrition in plants, as you can see over here. So I'll be maximizingly utilizing your 40 minutes for this particular topic, but I'll say if you are going through this particular topic really well, you would be able to solve all the questions coming from this. Yeah, and now let's see the chapter flow, my dear children. So you know, life process is there. In that, one life process is nutrition. In nutrition we have two different types. One is autotrophic and the other one is heterotrophic. Okay, and in autotrophic I can divide again into nutrition in plants. In heterotrophic I can divide into nutrition in amoeba and paramecium, and nutrition in human beings. Well, there are certain other things also. Let's keep it as a secret and let's see when we go through the chapter. Okay, so that's all. And today in this particular lecture, you will be talking about autotrophic and nutrition in plants. That's all. Heterotrophic is reserved for the next video, so we will be seeing you in there with that. And before starting all of this thing, I want to put down a very interesting question for you, and if you know the answer, you can comment below. The question is, why does leaves change their color when they get old? What's the reason for this? Now, if you know about it, definitely do not forget to comment. Now, let's start. First thing that we have over here, that is life processes. What do you mean by life processes, my dear children? I can say that life process includes all the biological process that allows me, a human being or a living organism, to maintain my life on earth. So all the very important processes that is helping me survive are known as life processes. Can you name a few? Nutrition is one among them. Okay, nutrition is one among them. Apart from that, you have circulation, which basically helps in transportation of all the important gases, nutrients around my body. Then we have excretion, which helps with removal of things which are not useful for my body. Okay, so all these life processes are really important for survival, for my survival, which is why I call them a life process. Okay, and here I have mentioned that reproduction is in a different color. Why can I say that it's allowing me to sustain my life on earth? I cannot say that. Okay, so reproduction is the only process which is not something necessary. For example, if a person decides not to reproduce, that person won't be dying, just that the lineage might not be there carried forward, that's all. So this is not exactly a process that would help me maintain my life on earth. It's just for continuity of species. Rest all of them, they are solid life processes that allows to maintain life. If they are going to stop any time in my life, probably I won't be there on earth, okay, or any planet. So there is something common in between all these life processes, my dear children. So nutrition, respiration, circulation, excretion, everywhere something is getting made up, some things are getting broken down. So I say that certain chemical reactions are happening up here. There are certain chemical reactions which are kind of common between them. That is, AB will be broken down to A plus B. Sometimes A plus B would be coming together to form AB. So these are the chemical reactions that are kind of common over here, and I call these chemical reactions as what, children? As metabolic reaction. You might have heard of people who eat a lot and we say that your metabolism is really great. What do you mean by that? Basically, in your body, the chemical reactions are happening really quick. They're getting broken down, something is getting made, energy is being utilized, you do not have time for things to get stored. So that's why we say that metabolism is kind of really quick. What do you exactly mean? You mean that chemical reactions which are happening in your body are kind of quick. So I'll say one thing that is common between all the life processes is what? Metabolism. And metabolism is divided into two types. One is anabolism and the other one is catabolism. Here A stands for addition. So whenever I am saying that two molecules are coming together to form a bigger molecule, I call this process as anabolism. So for example, CO2 plus H2O. Okay, carbon dioxide plus water is coming together to make glucose. This is a bigger molecule. So A plus B is equals to AB. This is anabolism or anabolic reaction. Now on the other hand, when this glucose decides to get broken down back again into carbon dioxide and H2O, I call this as catabolic reaction, or I say that this is an example of catabolism. How can you remember catabolism? C for cut and C for catabolism. Something is getting cut down. Over here, addition, some things are getting added up. Got it? So this is what we have in common in between all the life processes. Why am I talking about this? Because this is the introduction of the chapter and I have to complete it anyhow, right? Now, today's topic, nutrition. Let's begin that. What do you mean by nutrition, my dear children? How can you define nutrition? Can I say this is the process of eating food? No, but not all organisms have food like this. So I'll have a scientific definition to it. I'll say it's a physiological process of obtaining nutrients. Not obtaining food, food has nutrients, so I'll just say it's the physiological process that is happening around in an organism which helps it obtain the nutrients. And why do we need nutrients, children? For growth, for maintenance. Everything in my body needs a maintenance. Okay, just like how we need a quick car service, just like that in our body also we need cell service. Okay, so maintenance is very much important. Growth is important for reproduction also. For the cells to reproduce, for us to reproduce also we need nutrition. So all this process is run on the basis of one fuel, that is what? Nutrition. So nutrition, I can say it's a physiological process of obtaining nutrients, my dear children. It's for growth, for maintenance and for reproduction. Now I have two different types of nutrition. One is autotrophic mode of nutrition and the other one is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Let's just focus on this thing, just blind spot that. Okay, so auto basically means self. Okay, trophic comes from the word trophos, which means nutrition. Okay, which means nutrition. So these are the organisms which obtain their own nutrition, which make their own food probably. That is why they are known as autotrophic. That's why we call them autotrophs, and the mode of nutrition that they have, we call it autotrophic mode of nutrition. So they synthesize their own organic food from inorganic substances using light or chemical energy. Now this is given in NCERT. How can you understand that? Basically, when I say that inorganic substances are coming together. Inorganic substances means what, children? Wherever you do not find CC bond or you do not find CH bonds, you call these things as inorganic. For example, CO2. Okay, C and double O. Okay, CO2. Over here, do you see CC bond, that is carbon-carbon bond? No. Do you see carbon-hydrogen bond? No. So I call this as inorganic. Next thing, H2O. So I have 2 H and 1 O. Do I find CC bond or CH bond? No. Again, what do I call this also? I call this and I call this as inorganic. So basically, autotrophs are those organisms which are going to take the inorganic substances and they are going to mix and match and form what? And form organic things. They are going to form organic compounds which has the CH bond or CC bond. Okay, and for this, for converting inorganic things to organic, obviously they need some energy source. And what is that energy source, children? For some it's light, for some organisms it's light, and for some others it is chemicals. Can you think of the organism that needs light for doing this process? They are plants. Plants, they do photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? Carbon dioxide, water and glucose. Glucose is what, children? Organic substances. What is carbon dioxide and water? Inorganic. In the presence of light, sunlight's energy, you are preparing the food. So that is about plants. Now chemicals are being required by another group of organisms. We will be talking about that as well. So you understood the basic funda, that autotrophs are the one that synthesize their own organic food, okay, by using light or chemical energy. Now, there are some other group of organisms which are known as heterotrophic, or basically you call them heterotrophs, okay, and the mode of nutrition is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now they do not synthesize their own food, but what do they depend on? They depend on other organisms for food. Okay, they cannot. For example, I say that I am a heterotroph. I cannot stand under the sun and say that, okay, I'll take carbon dioxide, I'll take water and now I'll make glucose. No, children, I cannot make glucose. Instead, I depend on other organism for glucose. That is my food. Other organisms are my food. So that other organism would be a plant, or it could be an animal that ate the plant. So it can be directly a plant. I can eat directly a plant, or probably some other organism which ate the plant. But anyways, you are transferring, the main source of energy is this guy only who made its food by itself. So at the end, we all are totally dependent on the autotrophs only. So heterotrophs are those organisms that do not synthesize their food, but they are depending on what children, other organisms for food. So it can be directly an autotroph that they depend on, or there can be a heterotroph also. Okay, works? Here hetero means others. Okay, I think you got it. And now I am utilizing my 100% energy, which is why I'm kind of panting. Now, in autotrophs, as I said, you have two different types. Okay, one is photoautotrophs and the other one is chemoautotrophs. Photoautotrophs, as you know the word, photo means light. So basically they might be the ones that use light energy for formation of food. Okay, they are the ones that use light energy for the formation of food. What are they going to do, children? They are going to take simple inorganic things, and with the help of light energy, they are going to convert into complex organic things. Okay, this obviously the inorganic things, for example, CO2, H2O, I will call them simple because they do not have much bonds to break and things like that. But when it comes to glucose, it's C6H12O6. There are so many bonds involved. I will say it's complex. So simple inorganic things are converted to complex organic things with the help of sunlight, and which is why the plants, they are known as photoautotrophs. Now on the other hand, you have chemoautotrophs, and have made cute little things over here. They are known as chemoautotrophs. Certain bacteria, they are known as chemoautotrophs. What do they exactly do, children? So basically they use chemical energy for formation of food. Where do they get chemical energy from, ma'am? So basically what happens is that they have some chemical reactions ongoing in their body. They will convert this to this. When they convert this to this, basically they are releasing certain chemical energy, and they are using this chemical energy for now finally converting simple inorganic things to complex organic things. Okay, so this is the step that you saw over here. So here light energy was directly given from the sun, but over here for making chemical energy, you have to do some reaction. In this chemical reaction, at the end you will get chemical energy, and this chemical energy is used to run all this thing. Okay, I hope you got it. Even if you didn't get it as of now, you will get it soon, because I am going to show you certain examples. So example of photoautotrophs are green plants. You agree? Now, apart from green plants, you have green algae as well, and then certain bacteria which are photosynthetic. There are certain green photosynthetic bacteria as well. For example, you might have heard about blue-green algae. It's not actually an algae, it's a bacteria, but it spreads on the water like this, which is why you call it algae. Okay, so it's a bacteria, and this group of bacteria you call it cyanobacteria. So they are photosynthetic bacteria. The nostoc, anabena, which all comes under this. Nostoc or anabena, which comes under this, they are all doing photosynthesis for obtaining their food. Okay, they are bacteria, but still they are obtaining their food with the help of this. So you have bacteria also coming in this particular category, but only a few variety. You call them cyanobacteria. Okay, and then green plants. Now when you talk about chemoautotrophs, okay, you have nitrifying bacteria. What do you mean by that? So basically there is a reaction in whole formation of nitrogen cycle. No, you have nitrifying things, you have denitrifying things. You don't need to remember all this thing. Okay, at least remember there's a bacteria whose name is Nitrosomonas. What is it doing, children? It takes in the ammonia and convert into nitrite. Takes in the ammonia and convert into nitrite. Now this is a chemical reaction. This chemical reaction is somehow giving chemical energy, is somehow going to release chemical energy, which is going to run the whole reaction, which is going to convert inorganic thing to organic thing. Again, there's another bacteria, that is Nitrobacter, which is going to convert what? Nitrite to nitrate. This is just for you to understand things. You do not need to remember ammonia to nitrate, things like that. Just remember the example, Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter. What are they doing, children? They are doing some chemical reactions, which is why chemical energy is being released, and that chemical energy is used for, what say, doing the, for making their food. Okay, that's all. Similarly, sulfur bacteria is another group of bacteria in which the hydrogen sulfide is converted to sulfur. This is a chemical reaction. Again, chemical energy is released, and this chemical energy is used to drive some other chemical reaction, at the end of which you will get what? Complex organic substance. That's all. Okay, so I have mentioned about the chemical reactions over there. That is why you might get confused. So you just have to remember the names: Nitrosomonas, Nitrobacter, sulfur bacteria if you can. Okay, these are examples of chemoautotrophs. Done? Now, next thing that we have is photosynthesis. So, the plants we saw, the plants are example of what, children? Plants are example of photoautotrophs. Now, let's talk about photosynthesis. So, photo means light, synthesis means formation of something. Okay, but what exactly is formed? That is the whole question. What is formed, ma'am? I will say food is formed. Food is in which form, ma'am? food is in the form of glucose, that is C6H12O6. Ma'am, is glucose just being there or is it stored in some other form? Yes, it is stored in some other form. And what do you call it? You call this as starch, my dear children. So glucose molecules come together, they are stored in the case of plant's body in the form of starch. Now when we have food, we are also taking glucose. Okay, in our body, that is human being's body, in which format is it stored? Is it stored in the format of starch? No, children. It is stored in the form, not format, in the form of glycogen in human beings, or basically animals. It is stored in the form of glycogen. This is a very important question. Okay, in the case of plants, so plants ends with S, plants starch, we have starch. In the case of us human beings, we have glycogen. You can remember, you guys, Gen Z. Okay, Gen Zs have glycogen. Okay, now, and someone says, the plant says, it's kind of easy, the whole process. So we are going to study the whole process, the easy process. Okay, first thing, so the chemical reaction of photosynthesis, something that usually comes in the boards and you should be knowing it. The balanced equation is something that you should be remembering. Okay, so we have CO2, that is carbon dioxide, we have H2O, that is water. And what do we get, children? You have glucose, you have oxygen, and also H2O that is being released, and ATP, that is chemical energy. Okay, but in this process, what do you require? You need sunlight and you need chlorophyll, because chlorophyll is the one that is going to absorb the sunlight. If chlorophyll is not there, there won't be anyone to absorb the sunlight, and the whole process won't be happening, because you know, for the conversion of inorganic things to organic things, you need energy, and that is sunlight. So there should be someone who should be absorbing it. Okay, now how can you remember the balance? 6, 12, and then here it's already balanced, so 6, 6. Okay, it is 6, here it's 12. Here it is already balanced, now 6, 6, that's all. Make it 12. This is already balanced, it already has 6. Okay, so 6, 12 and 6, 12. Please do not go write 12, O2 and things like that. That's why I didn't talk about that. In this particular side, 6 and then double of 6, that is 12. Over here, you just have to have 6 and 6, that's all. Okay, or if you know your chemistry is really good, you know to balance equation, then that also works. You don't have to muck things up. Okay, now my hair, yes. Now, does oxidation and reduction happen here? What do you mean by oxidation? What do you mean by reduction? Basically, when you're giving electrons, you call it reduction. When you're taking electrons, you call it oxidation. So over here, or basically you can associate with hydrogen also, hydrogen ions also. I'm not taking that. So over here, I say that carbon dioxide is getting reduced to this. Okay, it is getting reduced to this. Basically, I am taking in more addition of hydrogen is happening. Okay, I have to tell in the form of hydrogen. That becomes easy. Yeah. So basically, if you see CO2 and if you see glucose, you see so many H over there. So basically, reduction is a process that is happening over here, and here addition of hydrogen ions are there. Okay. On the other hand, if we see H2O was there, H2O is getting oxidized to oxygen because it is losing the hydrogen. Okay, reduction is gain of hydrogen and oxidation is loss of hydrogen. Okay, so loss of hydrogen is happening over there. This is getting reduced. You have to remember it. There's a reason why I'm telling this. Now, apart from this process of having the inorganic stuff there with you, the plant says that it's not enough. We also need certain other very important nutrients. What are those nutrients, children? Nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and magnesium. Okay, nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and magnesium, very much important. Nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and magnesium. Okay, okay, very much important. Where do you get nitrogen from? That is another question. So nitrogen, can plants take, important question, listen to me carefully. Can plant take atmospheric nitrogen, children? No. Why? Because the atmospheric nitrogen, that is N2, has triple bond. Can it break? No, no, no. So what do they do? Basically, this atmospheric nitrogen is fixed with the help of bacteria that stays in certain roots. Okay, you have heard about rhizobium and things like that, right? So basically, they fix this nitrogen into some other form and then they are taken up. So nitrogen is taken up by the plants in the form of inorganic nitrates or nitrites. Remember this is very much important. Inorganic nitrites or nitrates, not in the form of ammonia, nothing. Nitrites, nitrates, nitrites, nitrates. Okay, nitrogen is taken in the form of that. Then you have phosphorus, iron and magnesium, everything taken up from the soil itself. Okay, after things are getting fixed. Works. So apart from this, you need that also. Okay, and reduction is happening over here with carbon dioxide, and oxidation is happening over there with the help of water. Now, before getting into the basics of photosynthesis, I need you to have a look in the structure of leaf. Now, this picture is given in your NCERT. Now, this picture is asked also with the labelings. They ask you the labelings and about something else. The question I will tell you later on when I explain the whole thing. So, if I have a leaf and I've cut the leaf like this and I see from the side, okay, this is how it looks. So, basically I get something like this, where this becomes the epidermal layer, upper epidermis, lower epidermis, and you know it is covered by a layer of cuticle as well. Okay, so that loss of water could be prevented. Now, inside that there are certain long cells which do not have space between them. You call them palisade mesophyll cells. What do you call them, children? Palisade mesophyll cells. Now, this is not something out of your NCERT. This is important. This comes, okay. Now, after that comes some layer of cells which are loosely arranged. You call them spongy mesophyll cells. What do you call them? Spongy mesophyll cells. Now, over here also you will be having something. This is vascular bundle. This is what, children? Vascular bundle. What does vascular bundle include? Your xylem and your phloem. So, three things that you have to remember: palisade mesophyll, spongy mesophyll, the loose ones, and because you have gap between them, that is why they're spongy, we call them spongy, and then you have vascular bundles. Now, the lower epidermis, they also have one more set of cells which you call as guard cells, which you call as what, children? Guard cells. They are going to guard the opening over here which is known as stomata. Now, I have made something like this. First position to palisade mesophyll, second to spongy mesophyll, and third to guard cells. What do I exactly mean by that? Basically, I am trying to say that it's the palisade mesophyll that will be having most amount of chloroplast. And chloroplast, if it's there, then chlorophyll molecules are also in there. So, you would be having enough amount of chlorophyll. Now, chlorophyll and chloroplast, if it's there, basically I am trying to say this is where most amount of photosynthesis is going to happen. Okay, so palisade mesophyll, this is a question that comes, which is the one area where there is most amount of chloroplast present. It is none other than palisade mesophyll, my dear children. Second position is spongy mesophyll. Third position is guard cells. Please remember, they also have it. Okay. Now, if we see the structure of one chloroplast, how does it look? So, it is a double membranous organelle. It has two membranes, one membrane, second membrane, outer membrane, inner membrane. Okay. Now, if you see this coin-like structure, you call this coin-like structure as thylakoid. You call this as thylakoid. Now, thylakoid, basically when they are arranged in this format, you call it grana. Okay, thylakoid, all of them stacked together, you call it grana. Now, one grana, another grana, they cannot stay apart from each other. So, basically they are together with the help of something, you call it as stroma lamellae. You call this as stroma lamellae. Cool? Works? Okay. Now, you see certain area which is left behind, the purple color area which is of no use, just staying there. What do you call this? It's a stroma. Now, don't think it's not useful, it's very, 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 very useful. Okay, the stroma is very useful, thylakoid is useful, grana is useful, stroma lamellae is useful, everything is useful. Okay, now thylakoid is a place where you find most amount of chlorophyll pigments, my dear children. Then you also have it in the stroma lamellae. In stroma, you won't be finding it. Okay, so chlorophyll pigment which is there in the chloroplast, it is found in most amount over here and in the stroma lamellae as well. Works? So, you know the structure of leaf and what do you mean by chloroplast. So, you know where's the source of chlorophyll and everything. Now once more time, I want to remind you, anyone who is interested in taking the Diksha Scholastic Aptitude Test, you're free to avail that opportunity. The link is given. You can just click on that link and you will be directed to a page like this. Works? Time to study the three events of photosynthesis. This is very much important. You have to have this thing in your head, the three events. First thing, okay, I will be telling you the three events, but before that we need a quick introduction to certain things. Okay, so the three events of photosynthesis I can divide into two parts. One, I can say that it's light reaction and the other one is dark reaction. Why do I call one light reaction? Because it is light dependent. All the reactions that will be taking place over here, they will require light. They will require light. Without light, it cannot happen. Whereas dark reactions are the one that happens only in dark. Is that true? No, children. It can happen in daytime also, it can happen in night time also. Thing is that it is not light dependent. It is not dependent upon light. It can happen any time, which is why it is known as dark reaction. Some people think it only happens at night, which is why it is known as dark reaction. No. So I'll say it is light independent. Even it's there, if it's not there, it does not care. Can happen any time with or without the light. Okay. Now the location, where do you think that these reactions are happening? In the thylakoid. So this area is where your light reactions are happening. And now dark reactions are happening in the stroma, my dear children. So this is the place where? Yeah, this is the place where what dark reactions would be happening. Cool? Now, going ahead, let's start with the steps. First step or the first event of photosynthesis is absorption of light energy by the chlorophyll pigments. What is it? Absorption of light energy, as in, for example, I'm a plant, I am taking in all the light energy, and this light energy is taken up with the help of chlorophyll pigments which are there in my body. So that is the first step. Now what I'm going to do with this particular light energy? I am going to convert this light energy into something else that could be useful in my case. What is that something else? I'll convert into chemical energy, my dear children. So conversion of light energy to chemical energy is the next process, but along with this, there is one step that we all forget all the time. That is photolysis of water. Basically, you know, carbon dioxide and H2O is required for photosynthesis, right? So role of H2O comes over here. What happens when the light energy falls? The H2O molecules, they break down into hydrogen ions and oxygen. And this is where the oxygen moves out of the plant body. We say no, the plants give out oxygen. Where is the oxygen coming out from? From the H2O. Basically, photolysis of water happens, and during this time only conversion of light energy to chemical energy also happens. Okay, now you have to associate things and learn. Absorption of light energy, done by the help of chlorophyll pigments. Second thing, I don't want light energy. The plant says, I don't want light energy, I want to convert into chemical energy. Do that, no problem. So conversion of light energy to chemical energy, but along with that, one more thing is happening. When the light energy falls on H2O, the H2O breaks down into what? Hydrogen ions and oxygen. And this is where you get the oxygen from. Okay, now we have converted into chemical energy, the light energy, right? We have converted it into chemical energy. What will happen to the chemical energy? This chemical energy is finally used for the next guy, that is carbon dioxide. The chemical energy made during the light reaction is used in the third event, that is reduction of CO2 to carbohydrate. So for that you need energy. For making glucose out of this, you need energy, and that energy is gotten by the chemical energy which is being made. Now will you forget the three events of photosynthesis, my dear children? No. If one step is not happening, suppose this is not happening, so absorption of light energy has taken place, what will the plant do with the light energy if it is not getting converted to chemical energy? Because over here, for reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate, you need energy. Where do you get it from? Nowhere. So which is why it is very much important. Got it? Okay, done. So will you remember the three events over here? The three events which are mentioned over here, will you remember it, or do you think that you might forget things? Well, you should not be forgetting things. You have to remember it anyhow. Okay, works? Now, going ahead, if the plant does not receive light energy, will dark reaction happen, my dear children? Do you think dark reaction can happen if the plant does not receive light energy? Think. Dark reaction. Can it happen if the plant does not get light energy? No, children. It won't happen if light energy is not being received. So light energy has to be converted to chemical energy. This chemical energy is the one that drives the dark reaction. So obviously it has to happen. Okay, and one more very important thing, the dark reaction is also known as Calvin cycle, because the guy named Calvin discovered it. So this is also known as Calvin cycle. Works? Okay. Now, I discuss this. Next thing, CAM pathway or in the desert plants. So the question is, does the 3 steps that you saw over here occur one after the other in all plants? So the 3 steps has to occur one after the other in all the plants, right? But there's a change in certain plants. So plants like cacti perform specialized form of photosynthesis which is known as CAM photosynthesis. CAM stands for crassulacean acid metabolism. Crassulacean acid metabolism. So what is unique in them? So you only think, if I am a cacti, I am in the desert region. I already do not have water. Okay, in my body I do not have water. That's the problem. If I open my stomata for releasing the water, okay, if I open my stomata for taking in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, what will happen, children? Basically the water in me will move out also because it's too sunny and evaporation will be happening. So I'm losing the water that I have stored for so long. So would I want that? No. Being a cactus, I would say no. I do not want CO2 to get inside my body as of now. Okay, we can do it later. I do not want to lose the water in my body. So what do? Cacti anyway has to take carbon dioxide for performing photosynthesis, right? It has to make glucose. Chemical energy and everything will be got, but CO2 has to get reduced, no, and CO2 has to be taken in. For that, what is the solution that we have? Basically, at night time, the stomatal pores open up, and this is a time where CO2 gets in. CO2, it gets in. Now, CO2 is now inside the cacti, but do we have the chemical energy being formed? Chemical energy is being formed during the daytime, right? When light energy comes, this light energy helps in the conversion of what? Chemical energy. So for that you need light initially, little bit amount of chemical energy is there, but for conversion of whole CO2 to that you need some more amount of chemical energy, right? And for that you have to wait until daytime. So what do, children? The carbon dioxide which is taken in, it is converted to some other form which is known as malic acid or malate and is stored in a vacuole. Okay, this is stored in a vacuole. So we say that the plant is fixing carbon dioxide. Fixing as in is taking in the carbon dioxide and converting it to some other form which is stable. Okay, which is kind of stable. Now during daytime what will happen? When there is light energy, this malic acid will again get broken down to carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide is used to form what, children? Glucose, or basically carbohydrate. Now this is known as crassulacean acid metabolism. So over here the reduction of CO2, okay, it is happening in the daytime, but the taking in of CO2 happens in some other time. So it's not a very quick process that is happening, it's a time taking process, and I cannot say it is a very continuous process that is happening, which is why they are kind of different. So this is CAM pathway, my dear children, and it is exhibited by the desert plants. Works? Okay. Now going ahead, we have stomata. Okay, going ahead, we have stomata. What does stomata do? What is the functioning of stomata? So stomata, you know that it's just a tiny little pore that you find on the membrane, or basically, I'll tell, wait. So this area that you see, this is known as stomatal pore. This is where carbon dioxide gets in, carbon dioxide goes out, oxygen gets in, oxygen goes out, whatever gases comes in, goes out, everything happens to this particular pore, and also water comes in, water moves out. So stomatal pore is very much important, okay? And I want you to remember that stomata is found on the lower epidermis region in more amount than the upper epidermis region. For example, if you have a leaf, the lower side of the leaf will be having more stomata. Can you think of why? Why is that so? Because if it's there on the upper side, what will happen? Sun is already there. So whenever it opens, more amount of water will be lost. Okay, but if it's on the lower side in more amount, what will happen? It's not in direct contact with the sun's energy, right? So it won't be losing enough amount of water, which is why I want you to remember, where should I write it? More in lower epidermis. It's found in more amount in the lower epidermis. Okay. Now, how do things work in the case of stomata? How do they close and how do they open up? So, what happens whenever there is enough light or when there is low CO2 in there, okay, when there is low CO2 in there and we want to open this particular pore, when there is enough light for photosynthesis to happen and everything, okay, but CO2 is less, we need more CO2, right? So, at this point of time what happens, proton pumps open. Okay, proton pumps which are there, proton pumps as in the one that helps in the movement of protons, H plus, okay, H plus that you see over here, they are protons. So, the proton pumps open up and what will happen, the H plus which is there in the guard cell, it will move out, it will quickly move out. When the H plus moves out, okay, what happens is that the K plus ions which are there surrounding in the surrounding cells, they move inside. They are like, hey H plus, if you move out all of a sudden, what will happen to the cell? The ion balance will be lost. I should be getting in. So all the K plus ions, they get inside. Now what will happen? Basically, K plus is more over here. Okay, K plus is more over here, K plus is less over here. Positive ions are actually less over here. Somehow the positive ions are kind of less over here. Okay, but the ions are kind of more over here. The ions are more over here. So can I say that the solute is more? You remember solvent and solute? Okay, so water is the solvent. In water, if you put salt, that is the solute. The ions are lot. So over here, the ions are in way too much amount. And outside, the ions are in less amount. So outside, what is more, children? Solvent is more. And inside, solute is more. And solvent always move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. So water which is there outside, seeing that there is too much ions over here, they will come inside. Okay. Now what will happen when the ions comes in, the water comes in, these guys, they are supported over here and it is not supported in between. They will kind of open up, they get swollen and they get open up. Okay, I will repeat once more. Whenever there is less amount of CO2, okay, this starts off a stress reaction and things like that, whatever happens, at the end, you have to remember that the proton pumps open up and the H plus ions moves out. As the H plus ions moves out, there is this other guy who is waiting for getting in. Who is that guy? K plus ions or potassium ions, please remember it. Potassium ions gets inside. Now there is too much amount of ionic concentration within the guard cell in comparison to outside. So I'll say there is more amount of solute within and there is less amount of solute outside. Or I can say there is more amount of solvent outside and less amount of solvent inside. Now this will move from a region of higher to lower concentration. So solvent moves from here to here. Water gets in. When water gets in, it gets swollen and there is an opening in between. Okay, this is known as the stomatal pore and we say now it's open. This is the stomatal pore and now we say it's open, my dear children. So guard cells swollen, okay. I call these cells as turgid state and the stomata, it opens up. On the other hand, okay, when there is no light or excess of CO2, okay, just imagine that there is excess of CO2 and there is no light. Also, I don't want CO2 to get in. So basically, I want my stomata to close now. At this particular point of time, the opposite of things happens. K plus ions, they kind of move out. When K plus ions kind of move out, now the solute becomes more outside. Solvent is less outside. Here, solvent is more. Solute is less, solvent moves from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, water is lost, they come back again to the normal position. So guard cells, they shrink, the guard cells, they lose the water, they shrink and it's known as shrunken state and the stomata closes. The question comes that in which state is the guard cell in? It's in shrunken state. In which cell is the guard cell in? It's in the turgid state over here. Works? Okay. Now, one very important thing, that is, if you are someone who is not aware or who is confused as to what you should be taking after your 10th standard, my dear children, then here we are there for you. Okay, we have Diksha Scholastic Aptitude Test where there will be 60-minute concept based lecture, after which there will be an aptitude test, okay, and then a one-on-one counseling with the counselor who will guide you well with about, they'll tell you what is the stream that will be best for you and you can go ahead with that. Now if you want to see through that particular link, it's there in our description box, you can click that. Works? Okay. Now There are 2 experiments that are given in your NCERT, okay, and we'll try to finish it off. Works? Chalo, let's see. So the first experiment that is given is this. For importance of carbon dioxide, we have to find the importance of carbon dioxide in the process of photosynthesis. So how can we say that this is important? Okay, by doing a experiment which looks like this. So I have a glass jar over here, I have a glass jar over here, I have a plant over here, I have a plant over here, over here I have a cup of water, over here I have a cup of something else, that is sodium hydroxide, or you can imagine that we have potassium hydroxide, either way. Okay, fine. Now suppose, okay, suppose I am not putting anything in over here, it's actually khali. There's nothing like this also here, okay, it's just like that, it's open, okay, or basically it's closed. Either way you want to imagine, you can imagine. You have light, light is enough for photosynthesis. Apart from light, you need what, children? You need water, okay, you need water and you need carbon dioxide, okay. What happens is that this particular plant is able to survive, whereas this particular plant is not able to survive. Why is that so? Why do you think is that so? Basically because, okay, water is here, water can be provided in the form of water vapor also. Okay, water can be provided in the form of water vapor, light is there, everything is possible for them. Carbon dioxide is always obviously in the process of respiration. You know respiration is also happening. Okay, what is the process of respiration, my dear children? Where glucose C6H12O6 is getting broken down to what, say CO2 and H2O. Is getting broken down to CO2 and H2O. So that is enough. Okay, respiration is happening, you get CO2 and you get H2O, and with the help of this particular process, again this is being made. So this process is happening, respiration is happening, photosynthesis is happening all over here. You just need light, and light is you are getting it. Okay, you are getting the light. Now on the other hand, if you look at this particular thing, okay, here also respiration will be happening. C6H12O6, the food that is being made, is getting broken down to carbon dioxide and H2O, which can be utilized back to form this again and again, and you have light also. But this is not happening. Why so? Because over here, this is sodium hydroxide solution, or basically potassium hydroxide thing, which is responsible for capturing CO2. It absorbs CO2. So CO2 guy is gone. So just think that the CO2 guy is gone over here. If CO2 is not there, can you take back the reaction to do photosynthesis, my dear children? No. For photosynthesis, you need carbon dioxide. So if carbon dioxide is not there, you cannot perform this particular thing. So whenever the thing comes, potassium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide, anything comes like that, just understand that this particular experiment is for the importance of carbon dioxide. If carbon dioxide is getting absorbed by some other source, obviously the whole process would not be happening. As simple as that. Now the next experiment we have is for the importance of chlorophyll pigments. Let's see that. So over here we have a variegated leaf, my dear children. Okay, in this variegated leaf, what do I mean by that? Basically I have different types over here, color shades. Okay, sometimes it can be totally green but different shades of green, or it can be green and just white also. Okay, anyway, suppose this is variegated leaf that I have, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to de-starch it, my dear children. How can I de-starch things? What do you mean by de-starching? Basically, starch will be there in their body. They do photosynthesis. They make glucose. This glucose is stored in the form of starch. Now, I do not want a bit of starch in them. So, for de-starching it, I will be putting the plant in dark. So, this area, wherever it was there, it all loses its starch. Now, what will I do? I will put the plant under light condition for some time, for some very little time. Okay, for just some time I'll put it under light condition such that it forms little amount of glucose and starch. Then just after that I'll treat the leaf with alcohol. When I treat the leaf with alcohol, all the chlorophyll pigments and everything will get removed. All the chlorophyll pigments and everything gets removed. So I just have a leaf now which I kept in light for just some time, and then I removed all the chlorophyll pigments and everything from that. Okay, now I am going to put iodine solution on it. I am going to put iodine solution, and when I put iodine solution, there's a magical thing that I see. Basically, the area which was initially green in color, this area, okay, how can I show you? Yeah, this area is turning blue-black in color. Why, children? It turns blue-black because it is a positive thing for the starch test. When I put iodine on starch, that's when its color changes to blue-black. That means there was a presence of starch. That means when the plant was kept in light for some time, in this particular area, with the help of the chlorophyll pigments, the starch was being formed. But now, when I test this particular area with iodine solution, it comes out that it is becoming colorless. It is not a positive result for the starch. That means starch is not being made over here. So what is the inference? Basically, children, when I had it initially, if I put iodine on this particular thing, the whole leaf appears to be blue-black in color because all of it will be having starch. Now I de-starched it. Now only the area that is rich in chlorophyll pigments will be having starch. It won't be able to supply it to all the other areas within a short span. Okay, so hence I am showing you the importance of chlorophyll. Okay, chlorophyll pigments were there, which is why they appear to be dark green in color, which is why starch was being formed in them, and which is why blue-black color appeared over them. Whereas on the other hand, the area which didn't have much amount of chlorophyll pigments, my dear children, which was actually light in color also, okay, they were showing colorless thing because it is not a positive test for starch. So whenever iodine comes in contact with starch, remember the color that it gives, it is blue-black. And with this, we are finishing nutrition in plants, my dearest little champions. All the questions that could be coming from this particular topic would be discussed with you, okay, for sure. But I hope this particular thing that I try to explain you today is cemented very well in your brain and you won't be forgetting it. Now in the next session, we will be talking about nutrition in amoeba, paramecium and other organisms, okay, for sure. I'm not going to talk about it today. Now once more time, I want to remind you, anyone who is interested in taking the Diksha Scholastic Aptitude Test, you're free to avail that opportunity. The link is given. You can just click on that link and you will be directed to a page like this. Works? So that's all, my dear little champions. If you think that this particular video was useful for you, then do not forget to subscribe to our channel, that is Diksha Vedantu. And also, if you like the video, if you think that whatever I taught was useful, do not forget to comment that down. And also one more very important thing which I kind of forgot. If you want the notes for this particular thing that I taught you today, then you have to join our WhatsApp channel as well. WhatsApp channel link will be given to you. You can just click on that and you can join. Works? So that's all, my dear champions. Do not forget to subscribe. Do not forget to leave a small comment. Would be really happy reading that. Okay? Bye-bye. Take care and do not forget to smile as well.